Live with the community, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development Bi-Weekly Call. Today is August 18th. Where's the year going? I am your host, David Warner with Microsoft. Let's talk about what our fantastic voyage is going to include today. We are going to see the latest updates on community. We're going to see PnP.NET library updates, PnP PowerShell, independent publisher connectors. We're going to talk about script samples, Microsoft Teams samples, Power Platform samples, all the samples. And then what time will it be? Picture time, together mode with the community. But before we go any further, we do want to call out our fantastic presenters today. We've got some rock stars. Mitten Shu is going to cover the RegEx Matching Demo today on the independent publisher connectors. And then we've got Chris Kent back to talk about list formatting, attack of the hooves. You can see we got a little theme going on here. So we're excited to see all of our presenters today. Now, there are opportunities for every single one of you to participate in this community. We absolutely want to have you be part of it. You can demo a solution or a technical pattern on this call like you see our presenters doing today. You're more than welcome to do that. And to do that, you would simply just fill out that little form. We made it easy for you. ak.ms/m365pnp/request/demo. And you can fill out a little form, tell us that you would like to present, and we'll get back to you and get you into the rotation. So we're very excited about that. And don't be overwhelmed by it. If you've not done a presentation before, don't hesitate. It's a really easy process, and we can even buddy you up with someone if you'd like within the team to make sure that it's an easy process for you. You can also contribute on GitHub. You're going to see a number of initiatives today and programs that allow you to do that. And of course, we enjoy getting feedback. We want to hear all of the feedback opportunities that you have to provide. We just ask you to keep it positive, even if it's improvements that you'd like to see done, no problem. We want to make this the best community for you. So don't hesitate to provide that feedback to us. Now, there are a number of initiatives and programs and resources available to you. As you can see here, we have videos aplenty, community and developer. We have open source projects, SharePoint, Office Dev, Microsoft Graph. We have got a plethora of sample galleries for M365, team samples, SPFX samples, SPFX extensions, list formatting, oh my, so much more. Do you need to remember all of them? Absolutely not. All you need to do is remember one little URL, aka.ms/m365/community. It is the path for you to access all of these resources and tools. If you like this community call and you want to join in more, we absolutely have lots of opportunity for you. The Microsoft 365 platform call is a weekly call. It starts back up on the 6th of September. It is on a summer break right now, but this is a weekly call that's coming straight to you from Microsoft, meaning that all of the presenters are direct from Microsoft, product managers, program managers, engineers. They're going to show you the latest and greatest on a variety of topics and features and products. So definitely want to get that on your calendar if you don't already. We've also got adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, Power Platform, which just happened yesterday. That's once a month. And then the call you're on right now, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development, is bi-weekly. And of course, its sibling, Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework. That is also bi-weekly, just flip-flops there. So that'll be next week. You can access all of them at aka.ms/m365/calls. Now, you're going to see a number of opportunities to contribute today, a number of programs, sample galleries, and you may say, I'd love to submit to those. I'd love to be a part of that, but I'm not quite sure where to get started or how to do that. Well, Sharing is Caring is a program that we provide that is hands-on guidance. Now, what does that mean? It means that we're going to have live sessions that are going to provide you opportunities to walk through together with members of the community, members of the team, Microsoft employees, that we're going to walk you through how to do all of the things that you see the topics for. So, for example, if you'd like to submit a sample to the sample gallery, whether it be SPFX or list formatting, Power Platform, one of the other many team samples, for example, but you're not quite sure how to use GitHub or anything like that, could be a little scary. What's a fork? What's a pull request? Well, we'll walk you through it. And of course, you know what? We don't even record it. It's safe space for you to ask any and all questions that you would like. That means that you can feel confident leaving there because we'll walk you through together, and you'll even get a contribution credit for it. So please don't hesitate. We've got more, now that summer's ending, we've got more dates coming up and spinning up. And so we invite everyone to go check that out. We'll have even more dates as the week ends here and the weekend ensues. So don't hesitate to take advantage of that. Now, we also want to recognize you for all the great work once you've done that. Our recognition program is a program that we've set up to officially and formally evangelize and celebrate and recognize the amazing work that you're doing. This is powered by Credly. Yeah, that same Credly that you get badges from when you pass a Microsoft certification exam, they will sit right alongside it. Why does it matter? Well, it's because you're being recognized for the work you're doing in the community. And that's powerful when you're able to go show your managers or your clients that you're making a difference in the community, and it's no cost to you. So you can associate it to your LinkedIn profile, share it on Twitter, throw it on the fridge. I know I do. The family's proud of me, and I get all kinds of hugs. So I want you to get hugs too. aka.ms/M365PnP-recognition. You only need to register once, but we do need you to register and opt in so that we can tie your GitHub contributions to that. In fact, our presenters today will also get a badge for being a presenter, so you get those as well. So don't hesitate. We know lots are really enjoying that, and you'll see even more badges coming out soon this weekend, in fact, for those that have put in their pull requests and contributions. All right, let's move into PnP.NET libraries, and for that, we'll hand it over to Vesa.
Excellent. So I'm taking over because Bert is on well-deserved summer break. So quick update on the PnP.NET libraries. So we have the .NET Framework library, which is the classic PnP site score library for .NET Framework 4.6 and so on. And that has now 687,000 downloads or more than that. And there's a 1.11 release queued up coming pretty soon after the summer break when Bert is back, and Bert is really the primary coordinator of this. And then on the PnP Core SDK side is closing into 1 million downloads, and this is the .NET Standard, .NET Core, .NET 5 version of the automations and abstractions, mainly for Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, and that's going to have a 1.8 version within after summer break. Behind the scenes, obviously, PnP PowerShell and many of the other things are using this particular library because it is that library which is being used behind of these abstractions. Now, overall, there's more than 220,000 tenants which were using this particular automations within the last month, which is mind-boggling on the usage. But your contributions more than welcome. Please check them out. They will help do development within the cloud. And let's move then to PnP PowerShell side with Gautam.
Awesome. Thank you, Vesa. Gautam, you're up.
Thanks, David. So before the summer break, we released the 1.11.0 release. So it was also quite, let's just say, slightly controversial. We fixed a bug, but it was basically kind of broke some stuff, but it was overall a good improvement. So one of the things that we changed was related to like Connect PnP Online. So that was one of the major changes that we have. So the thing is, if you want to use Connect PnP Online for multiple connections, we made it a lot more simpler, and that kind of broke some minor scripts for that. But yeah, it's overall a very good improvement and is a good change that we had. What next? So nightly builds are continuing. There were some minor bug fixes and a lot of documentation updates that are going on here. By the way, did you know that PnP PowerShell supports retrieving of the sensitivity labels? So we added that. We added that command to retrieve the sensitivity labels and all. So yeah. Besides that, what next? We are thinking of a major 2.0 release sometime towards the end of the year. So that is something that we want to do because of the .NET Core that we use is getting deprecated in favor of .NET 6. So we are thinking about how we can make it a lot more smooth. We are also thinking of dropping support for the older PowerShell 5. So everything should work as smooth as possible in PowerShell 7 as well. But yeah, you never know. So a lot of stuff is going on behind the scenes, but a lot of, would love to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah. Thank you. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Gautam. Very well done. Very excited for those updates. Next up is Yo Teams. So V4 has been released. This is the generator for SPFX and Teams applications. So lots of features in V4, continuing to see some progress here. So if you want to learn more about using your SPFX skills and magic for creating Teams applications, definitely check out aka.ms/Yo Teams. And then we'll move into Microsoft Graph Toolkit. So Seb is out with his lovely baby boy, spending time with his family. What's new? V2.6.0 is the latest release. It's been a little slow, obviously, with him being out. We'll see some more updates as he gets back. But if you're unfamiliar, this is your opportunity to use Fluent UI components to connect to the graph. Super easy. You can utilize these within a number of development opportunities, even within the content query web part, in fact. That makes it super easy to connect to the graph without feeling like you have to be overwhelmed. These will provide you that out-of-the-box look and feel without having to do too much development. And in fact, there's samples there that you can take advantage of. So don't hesitate to check it out, aka.ms/MGT or aka.ms/MGT/samples. Let's move into independent publisher connectors with Natalie.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. So independent publisher connectors, for those of you who don't know what they are, these are Power Platform connectors that are submitted by anyone, whether you're an MVP or a non-MVP or a student. We've had a wide variety of people contribute to this program and receive the badge that you see here from Credly, but also get an opportunity to have their name directly in the product right next to their connector. So we have 53 awesome independent publishers, 166 independent publisher connectors. So working our way to 200, which is incredible. Recently, we've just had 2 updates to existing connectors. There's 2 Square connectors that Troy Taylor has built, 1 Square Business, 1 Square Payments. So we had some additions to those connectors. Definitely check them out, especially once those changes are deployed. In terms of how you can participate, you can become an independent publisher by, if you already have a custom connector that you've built that you'd love to share or have as an official connector in our platform, more than welcome to do that. If you're not sure where to start and which connector to build, we do have a link in our GitHub repository called Top Connector Asks that we update frequently to make sure that it's all up to date. Or you can also extend one of the existing independent publisher connectors. Maybe there's one that you use very frequently and you realize it's missing a trigger and action that might be helpful to you or others. Definitely a great way to participate as well. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. And well done, Troy. I guess it's hip to be square, right? But I guess that's okay. Lame. All right. I see Todd giving me the thumbs down. It's because he didn't say it. That's why. He would have loved it if he had said it. So, all right, let's move on to script samples with Paul Bullock.
Hey, everybody. So Script Samples is a tool where you can automate tasks within 365 and upload your scripts to this repository and share them with the community. So we support things like examples from the CLI for Microsoft 365, PnP PowerShell, SPM Management Shell, Graph SDK, a whole range of tools that can be supported. And then if you don't feel they're supported, I can always add that capability into the site so that those samples can be articulated. We've had a great set of new samples over the last month, so I'll just call those out. So we've got some new ones with PnP PowerShell, specifically like exporting checkout files associated with hub sites to CSV by Arash Afghani. We've got restore large number of items for SharePoint recycle bin in bulk by Paul Matthews. Request reindex of SharePoint user profile properties by Todd Clint. We've got create SharePoint site. Sorry, just seen him celebrate there. Create SharePoint site and using configuration by another site by Leas Babert. We've got bulk publishing syntax models to libraries by Leon Armston. Update user profile properties on modern pages by Ramin and Mandy. We've got a new sample for the CLI for Microsoft 365, so get Azure AD app permissions with Malcolm Elliott. We've also got some updates to existing PnP PowerShell scripts. We've got 2 from Todd Clint, so that's add a document library web part to a page and a tweak to that reindex user profile property sample previously mentioned. And also the copy planner plan from Reshmi Akalu. So this is absolutely awesome. There's also been a few conversations on Twitter in the community around scripts relating to permissions and apps and things like that. So what I have done is added a security filter to the site so that you can see which scripts related to that particular topic. But thank you everybody for all your sample and contributions. You're absolutely awesome, and happy summer holidays. It's almost coming to an end. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And yeah, absolutely well done on the number of contributions here. This is outstanding and inspiring. So thank you. All right. Microsoft Team Samples with Bob German.
Hey everybody, how are you? We have 2 new samples this week, which I'm really excited about. The first one, now I'm sure that a lot of you have been spending late nights thinking about, could I use the Teams toolkit and the Graph toolkit at the same time? Or would perhaps this might destabilize the time-space continuum and cause all kinds of crazy things to have the 2 toolkits in one solution? Well, Aisha Bash, my colleague, has actually proven that you can do both together with this new sample, which is the One Productivity Hub. That's an app that you may have seen different instances of. Shows your calendar and your contacts and all this other information, all using the Graph toolkit, and she's built it in Teams toolkit. So that is actually pretty cool because it's actually up in the samples that you get inside of Teams toolkit, as well as in a new samples repo, which is listed there as well. Well, actually, I guess you have to follow the link and you'll find it. And also our ever special super contributor, Marcus Moeller, has come up with another useful sample. This one's kind of bare bones. It's just what you need sometimes. If you're building a meeting app and you're trying to figure out what information can I get about the meeting that I'm in, or how do I wire up a bot to get, yes, in order to get some of this information, you need a bot, even if your solution is a tab. So Marcus has really demystified this in the second sample. So please go check out both samples, and I'll shoot it back over to you, David.
Awesome, thank you, Bob. I think that warrants a great Scott opportunity, right? We need some. It's like what makes it possible. Awesome. All right. Last but not least is Power Platform samples with April Dunham.
Thanks, David. We have several new samples. For the Power App side, we have a progress bar component sample by Elise Fries. So lots of good use of the HTML control there and tag custom visuals. We have a Twitter connection Power App sample by Llama, showing how to use the Twitter connector not only to view tweets, but also post them. And I saw they also snuck in one more sample just a couple hours ago of a weather sample. So check that out as well. From the Power Automate side, we have a Get Term Store from the SharePoint Term Store Management by Raman. And I'm super excited that we have our very first Power Virtual Agent sample by Michael Mendez for a SharePoint site creation bot. So big round of applause to Michael for getting our first Power VA sample in there. Super excited to see that and hope to see a lot more from you all. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Yeah, very excited about that too, April. Thank you. And we love the first like that. So excellent. Well, do you hear that? The clock is ticking because what time is it? Picture time! So if you want to show the community how awesome you are, turn on that camera. Vesa will take over. There you go. Excellent.
Here we go. We can see people joining in. Oh, there's a SharePoint monkey. Oh, it's a dog. It's a dog. Oh my God, it's a dog on the back row. Teams is filtering the dog though. Quite. Yeah, there we go. And Todd, behave on the back row. The back row, the guys. How did it select you too on the back row? That's actually really interesting. We still have a few seats on the room. So before we start recording, a few more rows. I will come here as well. I'm all the way on the left. I guess that's full room. So let's do. Still getting a few beers. I will start the recording and we can grab a nice GIF animation out of that. So thank you everybody once again for joining us on the community. This community is here for you and it wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very much for being part of the community and helping us to help you, because that's why we are here. Thanks everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. And good dancing, Todd, on the back row. So really, really good. Thank you. Thanks, David.
It's going to be a dance-off. Thank you, Vesa. Dance-off with Todd. All right. Okay. Well, that brings us to our fantastic presenters of the day. Our first one is Miten Garg. He's going to show off an independent publisher connector specifically for RegEx matching. So, Miten, feel free to take it over.
Thank you, David. So, hello, everyone. I've recently built an independent connector on regular expression matching, and I'll go through this demo in the next few minutes. So first, a brief introduction on myself. So my name is Mitanshu. I work for Schlumberger as a digital cell lead, and I've worked across 3 different countries. And only last weekend, I've relocated to the US. We have a equivalent of a champions program called Special Agent Program, and I'm recognized as a Special Agent 018 within Schlumberger. I am also I've contributed on the Power Users forums, and I was awarded Super User 2022 Season 1, and also I have been working through some of my certifications. Now, why do we need this regex matching in Power Automate? So I had a use case, but what I saw was out of the box, this functionality is only available within Power Apps. And apologies if it is there in Power Automate, it's just that I was not able to find one. So there was I couldn't find any out-of-box solution in Power Automate. So I came across independent connector, and that came to my rescue in that particular situation. So it was it's a simple regex independent publisher, which lets you specify your pattern, and it would give you whether there is a match found or not. So it extends the capabilities that you have within Power Automate. There can be multiple use cases where you want to validate your end user data input. So for instance, if you got legacy data in a spreadsheet that you want to port over to Dataverse or to SharePoint, but you want to check whether user input is good, or you're having some input done through Microsoft Form, where again, you cannot have super powerful client-side validation. So you're doing it through Power Automate before entering it into your database. This particular connector, it returns Boolean true or false if the input string matches the regular expression. There are multiple predefined expressions in here. However, a developer can provide their own custom regular expression. So you don't have to use any of the pre-built. You get a generic one where you specify your own regular expression and go with it. So demo time. So what we'll do is we'll have a trigger for the demo purposes as a manual trigger, and I have got a few input strings like input email. So this would be a end user entering a email address. Again, could be through a Microsoft Form, Excel spreadsheet, or any other input sources. We will also create an action where our developer will provide a regex pattern, and we will try to match it as well. So I choose my next operation under regex. And so the first one we wanted to check was whether an email is valid or not. So check for valid email format. Now this, again, regex by nature, it does not check whether an email ID exists or not. It is just going to tell you whether it looks like an email address, whether formatting or the semantics of it is that of an email address. So over here, we would get the user input, so input from the user. Another one that we want to try as part of the demo would be the custom expression. So specified pattern. So over here, your developer can provide the pattern, which we would be taking from our trigger, and the text would be input request. So once we trigger the flow, we would provide email and the pattern and the request, and we would check whether they have matched or not. And just to summarize to see what output we are getting, I'll create a compose label. So email. And so check for the valid email format, match found yes or no would be there. So this would be like my summary. And for custom pattern, true or false. So that's it. It's a simple flow giving a demo of two different actions, which is available within this connector. So input email, I would say demo add. Regex pattern. So let's say we want A to Z up to 3 digits, and that is our pattern. And the request that we are checking it against is say 1, 2, 3. So for the email, we are expecting it to come as true, and for the regex pattern, we are expecting it to say it hasn't found the match. So we are expecting it to say false over here. So if I went to the summary, so it was telling me that yes, email was found, but the custom pattern was false because 1, 2, 3 did not match the A to Z up to 3 digits. So That is it, right? It's a pretty straightforward, very simple connector that lets you provide your own regular expression or pick up one of the inbuilt ones and validate your end user input before you use that data into any of your subsequent business operations. That is all.
Awesome, Minshu. That is really cool because I got to tell you, RegEx is like kryptonite to some of the best developers in the world, right? Being able to utilize a connector like this to make it so simple is really, really fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. Very, very cool. Links to the independent publisher connector and in the GitHub, the docs and GitHub are in the chat. So definitely take a look at that, everyone, if you're interested. With that, we will call in the horses. So we'll invite Chris Kent to show us some list formatting magic.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm Chris. There you go. We're going to talk about some list formatting stuff. And so let's head on over to our Classic Warrior Horses site. All right. So we're on our Warrior Horses site. And a few months ago, we looked at a list that we created that the Warrior Horses are using to track assassinations. All right. So we've got our hit list. And as you do when you're working on murdering your enemies, so you often track that inside SharePoint, right? And a list is the perfect place for that. And with that, we previously discussed a few of these different formats here, and all of these are available as samples. For instance, the threat level here is one that can be edited on the fly, right? It's got the inline edit and so on. And you can find that here in our samples repo under column samples. And these are, so column samples are organized by column type. So we have a ton of different things for number columns. You can see they all start with number down here. And if you're looking for that particular one, it's number level bar. So if you're looking for this one, right there it is. We've got a bunch of those. So that's exciting. And that's what I've chosen here. And what we're going to look at now is we want to take this a little further, right? So we want to actually start tracking some progress. Or we've got a status, and that's okay, right? But we really want to, it's been 3 months. The only one that's actually been murdered here is Martha Washington because she was already dead, so that's pretty lame, right? So how are we going to track these, right? Make sure that our assassinations happen on schedule. So oftentimes you're going to add a date column. So we're going to add a date and time column here, and we're just going to we're going to come back to that. First, I want to look just at columns in general. So let's show hide columns, and I'm just going to show them modified, right? So I want to talk in general about dates and times, how we're working with those, right? So we've got this modified date. You can see it's got this friendly display where it's showing, I edited these just a little bit ago. The other ones, again, back in May, right? And that's okay. But what if we want to do a little more with that? So if we format this column, go advanced mode so we can see that. Let's go over a little bit and let's hide that stuff. Okay. Let's get that a little bigger. That'll be fun that way. And just for funsies, that sounds good. We're going to type an element type here, and we're going to say it's a div, right? And that way we can just get to our text content, right? And if we were to say, at current field, that's our magic placeholder token. It'll take whatever the value is there, and we preview it there. Now we get this interesting thing, right? And you can see that there's dates and times. And even if you select, now this one modified is always date and time, right? But even if you pick a date time field and you say date only, it's still got a time inside of it. It's just not showing it, right? So that's more about the editing and the view experience. So you will have to account for those when you start doing your own formatting. And so what I want to look at is, how do I determine how many days ago something was, right? Now, that's something that comes up a lot, or we just want to be able to do date calculations based on days or something else. Now, we don't have a date, add or a date. One of those types of functions to get the date difference, unfortunately. But we can do some cool things with that. But because time is in there, it starts to mess with us, right? So one of the things we can do is we can say equals, and we can have all sorts of different things. So I'm going to say locale is a date string. Let's try that. Date string, right? It should look pretty much the exact same, except now it's just the date, right? Now we've got a couple others. Is the date time? Let's see. Nope. Oh, it's just locale string, I think, actually. Because that makes sense. There we go. Okay, so that idea, we can start to do that. And I'm doing that for a reason so we can make sure we're always seeing the same format here. Now, if I wanted to break this thing down, right, one of the things is I can get certain values out of this. I can say, I can get the month, I can get the day, and I can get the year. And if I wanted to zero this out, so the problem is that time. So if I'm starting to do calculations between these, the only real way to do that is within converting these dates to numbers, which is the milliseconds since 1970, which, confuses everyone. And we want to make that a little easier because then we don't want to account for, this is 512, right? But it also has this extra 10.5 hours on top of it, right? That we don't want to mess with when we're doing those kind of calculations, since we want to compare to now, and we want that date, the number of days to not change as our clock goes up throughout the day, right? We don't want this, now that we're at 10:30 and not 10:25, now it has an extra day. That's not what we're really going for. Technically accurate, but it's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the date-to-date comparison. So we're going to talk about zeroing out these dates. So we can do that by using a lovely little thing called the date, right? So when we use the date function and we put in a date here, right, you can type in a date. So we type in 12/26/1981, a wonderful day, right? And we'll preview that. And now you can see it has just the date, right? But it actually pulled out a time. So it's actually converting that to a date time from a string. Now this is locale dependent, unfortunately. So you will have to take that into account. So in my locale here in the US, right, we do month first because, that's how freedom and stuff. Okay, so in this case, if we wanted to build our own, right, based off of the current value, we can actually build this as a little string inside here. So we can say, get month, and we could say our at current field, right? And then we could say add a slash, make sure we add a plus. All right, we're building a little string inside here, and we're going to say a plus, and we're going to say get date instead of day. Match the JavaScript nonsense, right? So current field, all right, so get date, and then we're going to plus, and we're going to add another slash, and then if we add the get year, right, that's going to get our 4-digit year. So there we go. Now we run that, we're going to see an issue here, and that is month in JavaScript's infinite wisdom is 0-based index of the month, right? So January is 0. And so because this is going to string, we're just going to say +1 to it. And there we go. There we just corrected it. So now you can see we've actually zeroed out our date, right? So now it's at 12 a.m. for all of these, and we don't care about time anymore. We have a zeroed out date, which is pretty cool. And we could take that exact same thing, let's get rid of this extra thing, and we can zero out our current time, right? So let's just copy that for simplicity. And we're going to say, put that in there. We'll come back to that, and we're going to swap out at current field with at now, which is a magic placeholder token as well. And that is the time at render. So when you load this view up and it applies the format, that is the time that it applied the format. So there we go. So now we've got these two things. And if we wanted to do math on them, well, we need to convert these to a number. So we're going to wrap this guy in a number. We're going to come down here. We're going to wrap this guy in a number. So we can subtract this guy. And we're going to say, boom, right? So now we've got a number, subtracting a number. And if we look at that, that's going to be really pretty. Ooh, right? But you'll notice that because we've zeroed out the dates, you can see that we have an exact 0, because this is the number of milliseconds in terms of days. Very helpful, right? But we can make it more helpful. And the way we do that is we wrap this whole thing in another set of parentheses just to make sure I don't mess up our order of operations. Because, I do. All right, we're going to subtract that. Now we could just type in the actual value, but I find it's a lot easier to read, if you can call any of this easy to read, by the number of milliseconds times the number of seconds times the number of minutes times the number of hours in a day. Right? And if we divide that, then we get, hey, there's the number of days ago. And we can even put a plus, put a space, days ago. All right. Ooh, fancy. But the idea here is before I did the calculations on the dates, I zeroed them out because I didn't care about times. So I know that that's a very friendly formula there, but that's why we tried to build it as we went up, right? So that's exciting. So we're going to save that. Wow, 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 wow. All right. So now let's talk a little more, right? So now we want to do something else with dates, right? So a lot of times we want to actually compare dates. So let's add a new date time column, right? So we can track when this is done. So this is eliminate by, right? And we don't really care about time. We're not going to include it, although we know it's going to be midnight. Inside internally, we're just going to say save. We've got eliminate by. Thank you for covering up my column. Go away. All right. I don't care about the status anymore. There we go. We'll just look at the status. Perfect. We can edit that in grid view, so we can just set a couple dates here. All right. So we had, we'll say, eliminate this guy by next month sometime, right? And we're going to eliminate this guy, I don't know, the next month after that. And I don't know, I'm picking these at random here, November 30th. And then we'll say this one, Martha Washington, we don't even care. It doesn't matter. All right. And Patrick, yeah, we gotta get rid of him, but we can wait till January on him. All right. I'll let him get another release of PnP.js first. And little Timmy will just say, you were overdue, right? That should have been yesterday. right, so that's exciting. Now we've got some exciting sample dates in there. And one of the things we can do, if we go to column settings, we're going to format this column. And we're going to scroll over so we can see that. All right, we're going to come in here. And I just want to change this slightly. All right, so I'm going to say Elm type is a div. And I'm going to say the text content is at current field. And if I want it to look, the way I've configured the date to look, I'm going to say display value at the end. All right, and that's not going to change much of anything right there, but that's giving us that. But the one nice thing we can add is inline edit field, so I don't have to switch to quick edit all the time. All right, and I can just put at current field. All right, and when I do that, it doesn't change much visibly, but we can actually, when we hover it, now we get this, and we can click it, and now we have a date picker right here without going into that quick edit. All right, so that's really nice. All right, I don't have to go to the grid view to see all that. We can just edit those dates as needed. Now we're going to come back to that, so that's cool. Now we've got a date, but let's do something with that date. So we're going to come up here, and we're going to format the current view, because now we're going to apply a view format. All the other ones have been column formats so far. Now we can come in here, and we can write some conditional formatting rules, and those work great, but I don't want to demo those. So we're going to come in here, and what we're going to demo is the additional row class. All right, so this is the idea that the entire row, I can apply some class on it, right? So just to see it, we can say MSBG color red, because who doesn't love red? All right, now everything's red, right? And that's okay, but we can do this all conditionally, as we've seen a few different times, right? So let's do that by figuring out where my other stuff is. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write this. A lot of times we just did that crazy math, right? When we were comparing the numeric fields, and it's like, blah, does anyone actually want to do that? No, you have to sometimes. But in our case, we want to make this a little simpler, right? So what we want to do is we want to turn things red if they're within 30 days, right? And if they're in 60, we want to make them orange. If they're like 90 days, we'll make them yellow, right? And otherwise, don't worry about it. We don't need to flag them yet. They're not really coming up. So that's kind of our plan here. So how do we start doing that? Now, it sounds straightforward, but when you start to look at the math, you're like, I don't want to zero out dates and compare that in a multi-nested if statement. And that does come up. These questions about dates come up all the time on like the Stack Exchange network, and the issues list and so on. So I'm just going to show you a quick trick that I use for this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say equals, I'm going to say if, right? And the first thing I want to check is the status, because I don't want to do anything if they're deceased, right? So first thing I'm going to check is status. And I'm going to say if it equals deceased, right, then don't do anything. Otherwise, we're going to do something, right? So otherwise, we would say, MSBG color, whatever, green or something, right? We'll come back and fix that. But the idea here is what do we do? If equals. All right, let's try that again. Boom. All right, so we've already eliminated, we're not going to apply anything to deceased. So now we're just going to go into our else statement where we'll write the rest of these things, right? So now let's compare. So the easiest way to compare, instead of doing some of that crazy math, right, is we can say if add days. So add days will take a date, right? In this case, we're going to say now, and we'll add a number of days to it. So we're going to say 30, all right? And so we're going to say if 30 days from now is greater than our eliminate by, I think that's what we call that column. All right, let's make sure we pull that over so we can actually see that column. Very easy to read with that green. All right, then we want to say that's going to be MSBG color, what do we say, red, right? And then otherwise, we're not going to apply anything just yet. Let's preview that. There we go. So now we've got our 30-day ones. All right, and then we can just keep this little pattern of nested if statements. So instead of our else here, we can come in and say, now we could say if add days. And you want to do this in ascending order, right? So the earlier ones get caught before that. So now it's 60. And we're going to say is greater than that eliminate by. All right. And then we're going to say that's also an MSBG color of orange. And then otherwise nothing. All right. So now we start to see. Now we've got an orange. And we said we were going to do one for 90 days. So let's do just one more here. Say if add days at now is 90 days, right, is greater than our eliminate by, right? Then we're going to say that one was MSBG color, we'll say yellow. Ooh, yellow. Otherwise, again, we don't want to do anything. So let's preview that. Oh, apparently we didn't have any within that time frame, or I didn't do it right. Let's see. I probably just didn't pick something within that time frame. Okay, but that's the idea. So we can start to apply these types of things, and if we save that, let's get one within 90 days. How's that? So maybe we just need to go back a little bit. How's that? Yep, there we go. There's one within 90 days. Again, that's why we added that nice inline edit field. Now, the colors are not great, right? Maybe we change it slightly. We say orange light. Let's preview that. Let's see if that looks a little better. That's slightly better. And then we can add, other things for like the text, right? So we could say MS font color. In this case, we want to be white or something. All right, so we can read that. You'll notice because I have one that's already got a few things, it is affecting a couple things there, and the title field doesn't necessarily have the font colors being applied because it has one applied automatically. So you want to mess with that just a little bit. If you're looking for where I'm getting these classes, if we go back to our samples repo, right up at the top right, we've got this link right here. And if we go to our groupings, that's where I'm getting all these class listings, right? So if we go to background, we have these MSBG colors. Those are all the ones, and BG colors. That sounds like BGs. That's funny to me. Okay, we got all these, right? So there's a ton of them, and you can look through all those. If you want to do the more traditional ones that are seen with a lot of the list formatting, like the wizards and other stuff, that's these SP CSS background color ones, where you're going to see like the BG coral, right? And each one of these actually has, like, so if you see BG dark red here, right? If we wanted to take that instead, let's just grab that instead of our red, and we can mix and match these as needed. All right, so instead of our red here, we're just going to put that guy in there. All right, we'll preview that. So now it's kind of an interesting red. But because these have these also, if you check over here, we've got dark red. We can come all the way down, and we should have a dark red text. I know it's in there, so I'm going to type it here. So each one of those has a matching SP CSS background color. It's a dark red text, has a matching text. So let's see. There you go. It doesn't look great, but that's what they have set up here. So you can set that. I actually may not have typed that one right, so maybe I should have looked it up here. We'll come out here to the red dark text. Red dark, red text. Okay, I think it's red text, red background, red text. It doesn't matter. But the idea is you could use those. I'm going to eliminate the text portion right now because I don't want to mess with that, because I typed it wrong. And why would we mess with it, right? So we'll just type that MSBG color red, and we'll put that MS font color as white. But again, all of those classes are listed for you there, and that's a great place to reference those. The point is, we now have this interesting way of calculating those dates without doing all of that kind of nightmare stuff we had to do in this case, right? Of course, I messed up all the modified dates here, and that's all right. They're all 0 days now. But if we save that, that's pretty cool, right? Let's go ahead and copy this out because I want to show you a couple other areas. Now, if we want to use this across the board, right? So now I want to use this in, say, my gallery view. All right, so let's save, make sure I didn't save it before I switch. If I go to the gallery view, which is not actually a separate view, right? Let's switch to design mode. It's so obnoxious. Let's go back in here. Now we go to format current view. And now we can see we can edit our card, or you can move things around. Let's make sure eliminate by is in there. And that's cool. Like, we've got our different things here. The first thing you'll notice, though, is it's not really showing the same way. When you click this, we don't actually get edit ability, right? It'll show it here, and there's our threat level and so on, and that's cool. If we go to advanced mode, once we get these kind of where we want them, right? We can go to our advanced mode. At any one of those, we could come down here. Let's go to our modified, for instance, right? We're showing that 3 things again. We could hit Control F and say modified. There it is. We found it. And so right here, these cards are generated with, there's the title up here if you selected to show the title, and then the next one is going to be the actual value. Now, that's nice that they generated all that for us. Thanks, no thanks, right? Because we're just going to say column formatter reference. And in this case, we're going to put the modified column there as our column of reference. Make sure you put that in quotes, because, apparently it likes it to be in quotes. There we go. Let's preview that. There we go. So now our format's showing up there. Right now it's 0 days. We can do the same thing, right, for our next one, which is our, eliminate by. All right, so we can have that inline editor. We'll do the same thing here. We'll type in column formatter reference. And then we'll just say, what's it called? Eliminate by. Eliminate by. There we go. And we preview that. Now we have our inline editing, which is really cool, right? And that's neat. Now, if we were to do something where we put a button, for instance, and in fact, let's do that very quickly just so I can show that. Let's go back to, just so I can see it, we're going to put a very ugly button here. Format this column. You can make buttons look a lot better, but we're not going to do that right now. And there are plenty of samples of how buttons can look better. But we're going to do a button. We're going to say our text content is our current field, and we want it to do something. We're going to say custom row action, and then we'll say our action. We're just going to do share because I just want to show a button. All right, if we preview that, we get that beautiful, beautiful button. But when we click on it, we're prompted with the share dialog. Right, and again, we've got samples on all that. That's not really what I'm trying to show. What I'm trying to show here is if I save that, and I go back over to that gallery view, right, so our titles view in some cases, right, and we go and format this current view, and we do the same thing for title field, right? So we come down to our title, got our title display name, that's fine. We do our column formatter reference here. So column formatter reference, our field name is not field name, it is title. Ooh, title. There we go. Let's preview that. Now we show a button, but when I click the button, oh no, I've lost my functionality, right? And so that's lame. And the reason for that is by default, when this thing gets generated, it's got this guy right here. This top guy is a button that ends up hovered over the entire thing that is doing a custom action of default click, right? And now our inline editing will work through that. And so will our edit fields. Like if you do some of those custom actions, that'll work, but our buttons don't. So if we just kill that thing, preview that, we lose our ability to open this, but we can double click it to open it. And we can then get our share link. So I just wanted to point that one out as you're messing with these and doing some of that. You can. Now, one of the other things I wanted to point out is, what if I want that same kind of row class thing I did before, right? That's where we don't have a row class for galleries, but we could take what we did before. I'm going to leave that in there just so we've got it. And I'm going to take that same, stuff we did before, and let's take this guy because we definitely need the SP card container. All right, so we're going to say equals SP card container with a space, and we'll say plus that, right? So now we should have, so now we've got that same logic here, but we don't have a column for a reference for the additional row class, but we can do that same thing here. If you're doing the calendars type stuff, you could do an additional event class. It's the same thing. You can write all of that. The only thing I would say with the calendar is be careful with the selection. You do need to handle if it is selected. We covered that 2 weeks ago if you want to look up that video. Okay, all that to say, we've got this lovely stuff here. Wow, 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 wow. So if we come back here and we like this, hit lists are great. It's going great, but we've got, we're expanding. The warrior horse is getting bigger and bigger. And so now we've got this idea of we've got multiple hit squads, right? And they each have their own team site, and they're like, oh man, we really want this, right? So I could go and I could copy the list from thing to thing, but if I'm spinning up these hit squads all the time, lots of murdering to be done, right? I want to make this as a list template. Well, good news, we can do that. So everything we just configured in the UI, that's where you start. So you want to configure a list template, make it in the UI, apply everything you want, add all your views, get them all kind of sorted out and ready to go. And then you could head on over to PowerShell, everyone's friend. And we do have a couple of requirements. You do need to be a SharePoint admin role or a global admin, and you will need the SharePoint Online PowerShell module. But in this case, you're just going to say connect SPO service, and you're going to want to connect to your, you got to type in the HTTPS. Yes, type in your tenant name -admin, all right, SharePoint.com. You're going to connect. You're going to prompt you to log in. Use another account. Go. Hey, good, I got my password right. That's always a good sign. All right, so now we're connected. And the thing you can do is we could say we're going to set a value to extracted, right? That's just a variable I'm naming. I'm going to say get SPO site script list. And all we need there is the list URL. Now, in this case, the list URL is right here. It was originally called leads. We'll copy that. And we're just going to come up here and we're just going to paste that in. All right, we don't have the view part of it. Hit enter. And when we do that, we can take a look inside extracted. And you can see it has everything about that list has been pulled out, including our formats, right? So our formats are here. Everything we just wrote, all of that stuff is here. All of our different views. The gallery stuff is all here. You don't have to look in that. In fact, maybe avoid it. But I think it's very interesting to see that's what just came out. And then what we need to do is add a site script. So we're going to add SPO site script. And this is the site script that's going to run from the template. So we're going to give it a title. And this we're going to say it's the hit list list, right? Because this is how we're going to deploy the hit list list. We're going to say our description is adds a hit list, right? And our content is going to be that extracted. This will register as a site script to put that together. Now, the thing we're going to need is that ID. So grab that guy and copy it. And then we're going to run one more thing. We're going to say add SPO list design. All right, and we're going to say our title, in this case, is hit list. And our description is track those that need murdering. Murdering. That sounds good. Murdering. And we'll say our site scripts. That's where we're going to paste that ID we just got. And then we have a couple of other things we have set is like list color, right? And we can see there's a couple options here. Just hit tab until I find one. Green, that's beautiful. And then we'll say our list icon. These are the things that are going to show up in MS List, right? Airplane, bug, calendar. I'm going to say robot. I just happen to know robots in there, and I like robot. Okay. And then the last thing we need is a thumbnail URL, right? So where do we get that? So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to grab a random picture somewhere. Now, you could take a screenshot of the list, and that's okay, right? But a lot of times that's not great. So let's just go to Pexels. Is that what it's called? Pexels. Yeah, there's some free stock photos, and we're just going to say horse murder. Yeah, you know, none of these are really about murder, but that's fine. We're just going to pick this tough-looking guy. We're going to download that guy. All right, so now we've got this image. Now, normally I'd recommend you update that. All right, so let's just open that guy, and I'm going to rename him over in my other window to list template called hit list JPEG. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a site where everybody has access. So my root site and the site assets, I'm just going to grab that file and I'm going to drag it over here. Now, normally you want to resize that file. I think I just picked a really big one. The size is about 200 pixels wide, but about 120 pixels tall, so about twice as big and tall. We'll see how this one comes out. But that's the idea. So I just want the address for a file that everyone can access. So if I go back to my PowerShell, that should be https://sharepoint.com/site assets/ what do we call that? List template hit list.jpg. That sounds good. All right. So now we've put that in. And now if we go back to our Warrior Horses site, now let's calm that down. In fact, any site we want to. We should be able to go new, and we're going to say new list. And we should have from our organization, hey, look at that, we've got a hit list. You can see I definitely should have fixed that image. The good news is I can fix this after the fact, right? Because it's pulling from that one spot. I'll just go fix the image and put it in here, right? But now when I click that, right, I get my green icon with a robot on it. I see all the columns there. I can say use template. And hit list already exists, so we're going to call this hit list 2, right? Or if we were putting on a different site, we could do that. And I'm just going to create that. And it will be empty, but if we were to add one item, right, we'll just say, wow, E, all right, none of this matters, and we'll just say it's neutral, threat level is 4, right, and so on. Exit our thing. We start to see, I didn't fill all of them out here, but you see all of our formats, including our additional row classes all came across. If we were to switch over to our tiles view, all of that came across. So the list templates are really, really powerful. So I know I showed a ton of stuff. Let's go and do a quick review. All right. So the first thing we talked about was how to zero out dates. So this is where you're going to take advantage of, these 4 different functions. You're going to take date, which is going to take strings. Again, very important, is based on locale. So if you're expecting this to work across multiple regions, you're going to have to get a little more creative with that. There are ways to do it. It's just harder. So check that out. And then these individual pieces will pull out the parts of the date you need, so you can eliminate the time. And then if you're needed to do math on those, wrap those in a number. On top of that, do the math and do some exciting division. All right. Lastly, once we've wrapped all that up, custom list templates are really, really powerful. Because you design everything in the UI first, or you can get exactly how you want it. And then there's just a very handy, 3 PowerShell commands. You extract it, register as a site script, and then you can put it up there. You can even do things like have those only available to certain groups of people, right? So you can keep that from your organization from getting too crazy, right? So if you're in IT, maybe you've got lists related to project management and so on. But if you're in risk, maybe you've got, risky things. I don't know, right? But the idea is you can go a little crazy with that. There's also commands to quickly delete these and recreate them as needed. All right, so there you go. Packed all that in there, and that's it for now. But check out various tools on the site for all that documentation to find out the class listings and everything else, and reach out if you need any help. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. That was a mouthful or a horseful or whatever. So excellent. Very, very cool. Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you both to Mitten Shoe and Chris for the fantastic demos today. Let's take a look at what you can rewatch this if you'd like. Lots of information to gather from, so I'm sure we're all going to want to go back and see exactly how Chris made all that. The recording will be available in 24 hours at the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel. You can subscribe, aka.ms/m365/videos. You'll be alerted as soon as it's available. You won't be able to download it in the Teams chat, so don't try to download it there. Definitely go subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that's where you'll be able to get the latest. Follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at M365 PnP. The next general dev call that you are on right now will be in 2 weeks, September 1st at 7 a.m. Pacific. The next Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework call will be August 25th, 1 week from today at 7 a.m. Pacific. You can get the invites to these and all the other calls we discussed today, aka.ms/m365/calls. Thank you, everyone, for having a part in the call today. Fantastic chat and conversation and collaboration. We really appreciate all that you provide and contribute to this community. So great work. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend.